Hi there and welcome back. In this tutorial we'll be looking at the Photoshop work area and zoom tool. The work area in Photoshop includes command menus and a variety of tools and palettes for adding elements and editing your image. Before we get started, we're going to reset the Photoshop palettes. This way you can be sure that you're seeing the same as I am. You don't need to reset each time you open Photoshop. The only reason we're doing it now is to ensure that there's no confusion. I happen to be using Photoshop CS3 for this lesson, so if you're using a different version of Photoshop, you may not see exactly the same layout as shown on the video, so please bear that in mind when following the lesson. Also, I'm using the Mac version, so if you're using Windows, you may notice very slight style variations. For example, on Windows, you'll see a blue bar at the top of your screen, whereas I don't have one, but the actual arrangement will be the same. To reset the palettes in Photoshop, click the window menu at the top of your screen, choose Workspace, and then click on Reset Palette Locations. If this is the first time you have opened Photoshop, you may find that nothing happened. That's fine. As long as your screen looks like the one here, we can get started. Remember, if you're using a different version of Photoshop, then the screen may not look quite the same. The work area in Photoshop consists of a menu bar at the top of your screen, a tool options bar below the menu bar, a toolbox on the left of your screen, and palettes, or sometimes called panels, on the right. Many other Adobe programs use this layout or user interface, so if you learn to use the tools and palettes in Photoshop, you'll have a very good understanding of how to use them in other applications like Illustrator or Flash. Let's open a file. Click on the File menu at the top of your screen, choose Open, navigate to the seagull photo you saved, or feel free to open any of your own images, and then click the Open button. There is also another way of opening files, and that's done by using something called Adobe Bridge. The Adobe Bridge button is on the Tool Options bar on the right hand side, but to keep things consistent, I'll always open a file using the classic method we just used. The toolbox on the left of your screen contains a number of tools which allow you to select parts of an image, paint and edit, change foreground and background colours, and offer different viewing options. Rather than going into detailed explanations of each tool and what they do, which would probably be a 2 or 3 hour lesson by itself, I want to focus on the zoom tool. If you follow each of my tutorials, I will slowly introduce more tools and the different ways in which you can use them. By the time you have followed all the tutorials, you'll have a very good understanding how each tool is used. At the top of the toolbox, you'll notice 2 little arrows. If you click on them, it will change the look of the toolbox to either double column or single column. I personally prefer single column as it doesn't take up as much horizontal screen space. You may prefer to have a double column toolbox. Let's look at using the zoom tool. Click on the zoom tool and you'll notice that once selected, the tool square will be a slightly darker grey to indicate it's the currently selected tool. You can also press the Z on your keyboard to select the zoom tool, and this is known as a keyboard shortcut. If you look at the status bar at the bottom of your image window, you'll see a percentage shown on the left hand side. If you're using Windows, you may find that the bar appears across the bottom of your work area. Now move your cursor over the image and notice how the cursor changes to a magnifying glass with a plus sign in the centre. Click anywhere on your image and it will enlarge. If you now look back at your percentage on the status bar, it will have increased to indicate what percentage you are now viewing your image at. The more you click on your image, the more it will enlarge. There are a number of ways you can zoom out. You could use the zoom tool options on the tool options bar, or you can hold down the Alt key for Windows or Option key for Mac, and then click on your image. Notice how the sign in the centre of your magnifying glass is now a minus symbol. The more you click, the more you will zoom out, and your percentage will change on the status bar. Let's zoom to 100%. You may want to zoom in on a particular part of your image. To do this, select the zoom tool, hold down your mouse button, and drag the zoom tool across the particular part of the image you wish to zoom in on. I'm going to zoom in on the seagull. You'll notice a rectangle or square appear as you do this. As soon as you let go of your mouse button, the image will zoom into the selected area. Let's zoom out a different way. Click on the right hand side of the percentage sign on the status bar and then delete the percentage sign and the numbers. Now type 100 and press return, and you'll see how the image zooms to 100%. You could type any other number in this area and the image will enlarge or zoom out accordingly. There is a maximum zoom percentage and varies depending on whether you are using Mac or Windows. There are a number of other tools that aren't initially visible in the toolbox. If you look closely, you'll notice that there are little black arrows or triangles in the bottom right hand corner on certain tools in the toolbox. This indicates that there are a number of tools within this tool group. If we look at the marquee tool, which is second from the top, you'll see that there are more tools within this group signified by the black arrow. Click and hold to select the marquee tool and you'll see that more tools become available and are variations of that particular tool. If you click any of the other tools with black arrows, you'll also see their tool groups. To select a hidden tool, hold down your mouse button and drag the cursor to the particular tool you require and release your mouse button. You'll notice that it now appears in place of the original tool. Okay, good stuff. You now know what the Photoshop Workspace looks like. You've opened an image. You know how to use the zoom tool in a number of different ways. You know what the status bar is and what the percentage number is on the status bar. And you know that there are hidden tools in the toolbox and how to select them. That's a great start. I'll be discussing more tools in the next tutorial. So until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you there.